All right, guys, it's still live on Africa Business Radio. Rachel and Winston still rocking with you on a beautiful Wednesday morning.
That's right.
And we did promise you another interesting conversation. This time we're taking it to the tech space, the tech world, the tech planet for a great conversation that you definitely want to be a part of. And joining us right now, we have the very... I mean, her profile is actually absolutely amazing. I read through and I was like, wow, such impact. And this is inspiring. I would say inspiring. That's the word. As we have joining us Nkemdilim Begho right now for an insightful conversation.
That's right. Good morning, Nkemdilim Begho. She's the CEO of Futuresoft Software Resources Limited. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. All right. So, of course, this morning we're still, driving the conversation of the International Women's Day. I want to take a look at how prospective and current female tech employees can be better encouraged, can be better recognized while, challenging bias, challenging inequality on International Women's Day and even, beyond that. But before we get into that conversation, you are one of Africa's leading women in tech space, also from a tech background, having to walk in your father's footsteps. So as a second generation Nigerian information expert, take us on your journey so far.
All right, thank you very much. So as you've already mentioned, I'm a second generation Nigerian information technology expert, and my dad is Chris Uwaje, who is also the person who wrote Nigeria's first IT policy. So I think technology policy and all of those things are sort of in our blood. I have two sisters who also work in tech.
Wow.
So we're quite the tech family.
Proper tech family.
And yeah, definitely. So I think, I got into technology quite early because of my dad, and who always encouraged us to, sort of understand how computers work, learn programming, learn how to use, all the different tools like, Microsoft Office, Photoshop and things like that to create content, right? And I then studied bioinformatics, which is a double major in computer science and biology. And after that, I worked as a programmer, and then at some point I started my own company, Futuresoft.
Amazing.
Nice. Wow, what a profile. Okay, so Futuresoft, as you've mentioned, has been on forefront with the 7 record of over 170 million clients across 20 industries, and they've trained over 1,500 CEOs, including top executives. And these are groundbreaking achievements. Tell us about this.
Okay, it's 170, not 170 million.
Oh, 170, please.
But,
pardon me.
Yes. So, Futuresoft just turned 13, and it's been a very interesting journey. We started as a web development and have over the years sort of evolved into a digital marketing agency and digital technology and digital transformation consultancy. And a lot of the things that we currently focus on is really creating digital strategies for businesses, ensuring that they are able to really use digital to drive customer engagement, conversion, as well as their bottom line, right? And part of that really is, ensuring that executives have the right knowledge to actually understand how digital works. So we do a lot of training at executive and board level to ensure that the executives really understand what digital strategy is, right? And ensure that they, sort of look at digital not as a cost center, but more as an investment, right? And look at how digital can tie into their business strategy in order to really drive, their business using their digital technology overall.
Right. Now, so, there's a new normal right now, especially with the pandemic and everything else. And, of course, the tech industry has advanced to a higher level. Like, the tech industry really did see, like, massive milestone all through 2020. Some even cashing out, regardless. However, what would you say are the marketing communication strategy lessons from 2020, and also, trends and styles and strategies still to be adopted going forward, considering that the world has probably changed for good? What marketing communication strategy lessons would you say that, have been learned from 2020, and what could be done to do business better in the tech world, seeing the pandemic has changed the way we live?
Okay, I think the first lesson from 2020 is that you need a really good strategy, and that you have to be agile in implementing that strategy.
Okay.
I also think that in the face of a global identity economy, you have to position your brand identity to ensure that you're really speaking to your target audience, right? You also have to, sort of ensure that you're really looking at how do you go digital, right? And identify the right tactics, the right tools, and the right methods as you're doing that. And some of those tactics are strategic email marketing, social commerce, and selling via Instagram, for example, visualizing your digital marketing data using dashboards, content marketing that comes sort of in all shapes and sizes. And like I said earlier, I think for me, one of the biggest lessons really for executives is that digital is an investment. It's not free, it's not cheap when you do it properly. So you have to treat it as an investment and as a strategic sort of driver of your business, right? If you don't have a strategy, it's not going to pay off. So you really need to make sure that you have a strategy and that you stick to that strategy. You identify sort of your channels,
right.
And make sure that you have data and analytics to drive that. And then obviously there's messaging, right? So when you talk about sort of content, you need to make sure that you as a brand have key messaging pillars. And what we've really seen is that the consumer doesn't only care about how good your product is, they care about what you care about, right? So what is your CSR strategy? What are you really doing with that? Tell stories about the people behind your brand, right? Be authentic. Lead with empathy, show how you're actually contributing to everything that's happening. And I think when we think about 2021, right, it's really, in terms of sort of if you should say, what are the trends, what are the predictions, it's really, again, you have to be agile and you have to collaborate with other brands, right? Sometimes even with your competitors, but it's really collaboration over silos and hierarchy, right? 2021 is not the year you want to do it alone. You also have to understand the difference between your target market and your target audience, so that you really understand your target market might be wide, right? But your target audience is really the people that you're talking to, right? And you need to make sure that you drive the right message. You have to, in order to do that, you have to really use your data to segment that target audience so that you start building, sort of 360 customer profiles that really allow you to personalize the communication and what you send out to your customers, right? There are statistics that show that 63% of consumers are highly annoyed with sort of generic advertising blasts, right? So it's really, really important. Then you also, I think you have to, as a brand, be more inclusive, right? And sort of ensure that you, especially in a country like Nigeria, where we have so many different tribes, and obviously during International Women's Day, a lot of the sort of brands are focusing their marketing on women, right? And sort of trying to ensure that they drive diversity, show diversity within their own organizations as well.
Absolutely.
I think those are really key things. And like I said, you have to show empathy, you have to be socially responsible, you have to care about things, right? Do you care about the environment, for example, right? What are you doing? And then I think the last sort of point is really around customer experience.
Okay.
And when we talk about customer experience, what we're seeing is that not only do you need to really automate a lot of things, but you also need to sort of take an integrated marketing communications approach where you're tying in digital, traditional marketing as well as PR and communications in order to actually deliver that customer experience. And I think brands just really need to remember it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? So you have to have a long-term outlook and not just sort of look at short-term deliverables, right? What we see a lot of time is, we want X amount of followers, or we want to sell this product 10,000 times, or we want to do this. But you're not really looking at how are you building your customer experience? How is that customer journey being shaped, right? Because that will actually give you much higher return on investment in the long term.
Fantastic stuff. Now, obviously, it's another global celebration month. We're celebrating women, and like I always say, it is super important to tell the world, the importance of, creating a level playing field for women, projecting women as much as we can, and also, just highlighting all the achievements that women have made. Now, there's a trend, especially in this part of the world, where when history is being told, most times it is rewritten. People tend to take out the huge contributions or sacrifices that women have made, and then a lot of the credit goes to other people. However, one of the major reasons why the International Women's Month is significant is because we get to highlight and celebrate a whole lot of women. Now, for you've actually done a whole lot of stuff. There's too many things to mention, as a matter of fact. Great accolades from being one of the Forbes top 10 female tech founders in Africa, Global Digital Woman, top 10 most inspiring women in Africa, 42 most innovative Africans. There's just so many. How do you feel about this, and how do you hope to also inspire a lot of young African women, making them realize that, hey, you can do anything?
So, I guess for me, it's sort of just part of my journey, right? And in as much as these accolades, they're really amazing. And, it's nice to know that the work that I'm doing is getting noticed and that people, sort of are taking the time to really sort of see, and celebrate those achievements, right? But I think for me, it's really just, the work that I've been called to do. And I think that one of the things that is most important is that the work that I do inspires other people.
Yes.
Amazing. All right. Now, I really want to talk about, the tech space and how it is male dominated, especially in Nigeria. This is revealed by the very small number of female top managers we have in a lot of tech companies. So of the 93 tech firms surveyed, in a survey that I had to go through, only 6 of them had a woman in the top management position. The question is, what accounts for this, huge imbalance? And, what steps can be taken to help address these barriers so more women can get into the sector?
Yeah, so I think, what's the cause? The cause is simply that, women have not in the past chosen technology as a career path because it has always been positioned as something that is exclusive to men, right? And it starts from how we raise our girls, right? You raise your girls to know how to cook, to take care of their dolls, to, like pretty things and do their hair, but you're not necessarily raising them to really be inquisitive, to take apart, I don't know, a radio or a TV and put it back together, right? And really see the workings of how it looks inside. When you have any, and this is sort of, I think also where moms pass on stereotypes without even knowing it, right?
Absolutely.
A mom would say, "Oh no, call your daddy, call your brother. He will do that," right? I don't know how to set this thing up on my phone. Call your daddy, call your brother, right? And that means that as a girl, you're automatically excluded from this activity, right? And as I said, it's a very subtle bias. It's a very subtle stereotypes that get passed on. And what we see is that there are a lot of women, sort of in our parents' generation that were very technology phobic simply because it was always positioned as those are difficult things. It's for men. Focus on the things that are for you, right? And I think like even the way that we raise boys, right? We're always like, yes, go and figure it out, go and experiment, go and see what will happen, right? Girls don't get raised like that traditionally anyway, right? So that level of curiosity, that level of, okay, what, there's always that thought, I guess, what if I break it? And I've seen this in many women who are just simply too afraid to say, oh, I want to know how to learn how to program. Obviously, this is changing now, and I'm so happy that it is. But when I look at sort of, my generation of women, there are a lot of women who simply don't know how to do certain things because they just feel like it's too complicated for them to learn. And I'm like, but so many other things. Why would this be something that you can't learn? Absolutely. Right? But it is, again, that stereotype that is sort of imprinted in your mind, right? And I think in order to change that, we need role models and we need mentors and we need women who are in technology to actually ensure that they open the door for more women and that there are programs that sort of also focus on that there are programs that focus on bringing more women into the technology space, training more women. And all of these things, exist. There are organizations like WTech who have been championing this for over 10 years, right? And Ore and I started out about the same time, right? And I've supported her on her journey to, sort of speak to the young girls that she has in her program and to show them that, okay, there are women out there who have built careers in technology. So you have a choice to choose that as your career path, right? Because I think sometimes young girls also feel like this is not something that I am allowed to select or allowed to choose, right? Because it's for boys. And I spoke at the FITC International Women's Day event yesterday, and there was a question from a girl from Vivian Fowler, and she wants to study cybersecurity, but she says that she feels she doesn't have enough prior knowledge. And I said, but you're going to university. As long as you do your A-levels and you do your SATs, you're fine. Everybody else comes there with that same foundation, right? Absolutely. But the boys would never question. They would just be like, yeah, I'm going to be like the guy in CSI. I'm going to be cool. And, I'm going to crack code. And I'm going to, protect, the government or the bank server. And they would be hyped up about that excitement, right? Rather than questioning themselves. So I think there's also that level of confidence that we need to instill in our girls to make sure that they truly believe that they can do whatever they want to do, right? And I think also just having exposure to technology, plays a really big role in how you approach it. So for me, I always, sort of say parents have a really big role to play here, both dads and moms, in terms of just ensuring that they are ensuring that their girls have access, right? Make sure that your girls know how to code, right? From an early stage, right? Enroll them in summer camps for robotics. Why do they need to do gymnastics, right? Yeah, they can do both. Let them do their gymnastics and let them do robotics, right? You don't, don't limit girls simply because you feel that these things are, boys take to it more naturally. Boys take to it more naturally because of how they're being raised, right? And the fact that they're constantly being pushed to try this, do that, and, break it and take it apart. And that gives them much more confidence, right? And we see that confidence not only in, the tech space, but we see that in all the other male-dominated fields where you have very few women who are there simply because it has always been positioned as, this is complicated, it's for guys, right? And I think we just need to change the narrative. And I think the women who are in technology today are doing that in really big ways by having a lot of impact, by being part of policy discussions, by going back to schools and talking to schools, by being mentors, and just sort of making sure that they are engaging with young girls and showing them that you too, you can, right? And you can probably do even more amazing things than what we've achieved.
Right. At the end of the day, it starts from the home. It starts from the mothers. Okay, so you chair the Digital and Innovation Committee of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. What has your experience been so far?
So I sit on the board of Stanbic, but I actually don't chair. They don't actually have that committee. The Digital and Innovation Committee that I chair is of the Society for Corporate Governance in Nigeria, which is another organization where I sit on the board.
Right.
But I mean, I'll just talk about just sort of my board experience as a whole.
Okay.
I think it's been a really great experience to sort of sit on these boards and be able to contribute the knowledge that I have, that I bring from the technology space, right? And help both organizations sort of look at their digital strategies and look at how they are using innovation, how they are using digital marketing, looking at their digital transformation journeys, and really just advising on, strategy that should be used to get them to the business goals that they've set as individual organizations, right?
Right.
So it's been definitely a really interesting journey learning about, sort of corporate governance, especially in a huge organization and institution like Stanbic, right? Where you have multiple subsidiaries, and I sit at the holdings group level board,
right.
So we get to really oversee sort of all the different subsidiaries and the different sort of companies and buckets of activities that are happening. So it's extremely interesting. I've learned so much, from my fellow board members who are all very seasoned, and who have, sort of welcomed me to, both of the boards in a really, really warm manner, and who are always ready to teach, who are always ready to sort of give me advice when I want to, sort of understand certain things, and how certain things work. So it's definitely been a fantastic experience so far.
Fantastic. Sean, on a final note before we let you go, it's amazing how you move with the things you do, and how much your company and all the platforms that you're affiliated with have been able to achieve. So I can only imagine, actually, can I imagine? Yeah, I can only imagine what you will do in the next coming years. So can you just give us a sneak peek of what the future would be like for Futuresoft? I know there'll be some groundbreaking plans, but can you just give us an idea of what the future holds for Future Software Resources Limited?
Sure. So, I mean, at the moment, we're really focused at building out our executive training arm of the business, and really focusing on how we can build partnerships in order to roll that out on a Pan-African level. Because what we've realized is that whether you're an executive in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa, or anywhere else on the continent, the knowledge that you need is exactly the same, right? And there are very few African companies who are actually positioned to, sort of create these training courses for executives and board members specifically, right? So what we're seeing is that most boards would send their board members abroad to do courses with organizations that are abroad. However, when you then look at the case studies that are being used, those are all international case studies that don't take the African context into consideration. So we want to sort of bring to the table that African context, African case studies, so that we can really show these are the examples of companies that are like yours, right? Because you have a very different culture in terms of organizational culture here. We have very different, sort of things that we deal with in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, sort of even what type of, sort of technology infrastructure and architecture we have on ground, right? Where organizations abroad may be dealing with legacy software and legacy systems, we usually don't have those issues because we started building our technology much later. So the approach is very different. We also operate in a mobile first market, right? And most African are mobile first markets, right? Which also then changes the way that you actually shape your customer experience and the way that your digital strategy needs to be laid out to do that. So that for us is one of our sort of big focuses, to just really expand that executive training arm of the organization.
Right.
Amazing stuff. We'll have to wrap it up at this point. Thank you so much, Nkemdilim Begho, for joining us on the show this morning. We do hope that you'll be available for further conversations.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great time.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. And that's Nkemdilim Begho. She is the CEO of Futuresoft Resources Limited. Wow, interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Winston, it's been a great time with her. I mean, people are really doing a whole lot of great stuff.
That's right.
I just hope a lot of women can just bring themselves out and get the idea out, get it started.
I mean, even just listening to her and all the things that she's been able to do, very inspiring. So that's and I know that a lot of young women are listening, and they totally have that ginger, that extra vibe, that extra push to just start something now. And she said something very important. And it's interesting because myself and Rachel had touched on this, earlier in the week and even last week. Sometimes, women unwittingly or knowingly, or just, it's not intentional. It's just, tradition and then the culture and the norm in quotes. So we just, without exactly knowing the harm we're doing, pass on stereotypes and, biases. So you say, you shouldn't be doing this. Just go and make your hair. Go and wear that nice dress and look good in the mirror. However, you allow your boy go play football and basketball, and there's a whole lot of money in that too. And maybe your daughter actually just wants to play football too. She's actually super great. So you see that she's been shooting those hoops and she's been doing 5 for 5 every single time. But every time you're around, you don't let her shoot the hoops because you think it's only Junior that should be shooting hoops. So that's so wrong.
So the one thing every single person has reiterated on the show is it starts from the home. It starts from the home. Imbibing your children, the confidence.
Whether you're a caregiver or your parent or you have words or whatever, just make sure, even if you adopt children, allow the children be what they want to be. Let them soar. Like I always say, the happiest and most fulfilled persons are the people who make revenue or make a living off what they enjoy doing.
Exactly.
That's literally life. You don't feel like you're working, you enjoy it anyway, and then you're getting paid for that. That's a happy person.